everyone. Welcome to the Femme Tell All podcast. My name is Madison Bellissimo.
And I'm Ruth Devereaux.
And we're so happy you're here.
We're happy you're here. In my schoolgirl clothes.
It's not giving schoolgirl.
I don't care.
Unless you're into that, you know. But I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I was trying to make a segue to sex because this episode's going to be about sex.
But not fetishes.
Not fetishes.
We'll talk about that on another episode.
We do keep getting that request.
We're going to.
We will. I'm sorry, guys. For the people that have requested it, we're not trying to ignore you.
We're not. We just need to research.
We're trying to figure out how to approach it.
Yeah.
But yes, so today's episode is about sex because I follow, she's a sex therapist and she's written about sex therapy within couples and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And she kind of destigmatizes stuff a lot. And she posted this video and I wanted to bring it to your attention to see how you felt about it. Let's talk. The question that she talked about was, what do you think is the average person's ideal length of sex? So like the duration. And I was shocked by the answer. And I want to bring it up to you. I'll give you the options that she said.
Okay.
So the option A, 7 to 13 minutes.
Okay.
B, 14 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
C, 21 to 29 minutes.
Okay.
D, 30 to 60 minutes. And then E, over an hour.
And this doesn't include foreplay.
This does not include foreplay.
This is
foreplay.
just the act of
Just the act of sex.
I'm going with A.
You're going with A?
Yes.
Wow.
I think like once you've gone through foreplay and you're like in the act of it, like my vagina can only take so much. I'm sorry.
Wow. I'm wheezing. Okay. Woo! You were right.
Oh, okay.
It is A. It is 7 to 13 minutes, which shocked me.
What
you
would
weren't
you
apparently
say?
Shocked. I was thinking more the like B, C range, like the 30 minutes, because the first one is like 21 to whatever, or like 13 to 21 and then 21
30
to...
minutes of intercourse continuously?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Well,
you're switching
say?
up. Kind of, yeah. Because I think, I don't know, hypothetically speaking, if you're having sex with another person, you're switching it.
Yourself?
Yeah, which could be its own thing.
That is true.
But I would say that's a whole other question. But I would say...
It's even shorter then.
Yeah.
I'm like, in and
for
out,
sure.
let's go.
You're like, this is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
But I think with another person, there's so much going into it. I think there's so many positions you can try.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to like get to the edge, but not really. Like, I don't know.
But there's like a start and stop like with that too when you're having a session, you know? It's not like continuous.
No, but I think it is, even if you're like...
For 30 minutes? That's a TV show.
It is a TV show.
You know how much story you can play in 30 minutes?
And I'm watching. I'm binge watching. No, I'm kidding. That makes me sound crazy. But no. I thought that the ideal for others. I agree with you. I think like the best case scenario, it is pretty like timely, I would say.
Sure.
I'm not saying rush. I don't want a like quick and dirty situation. Sure. Sometimes you want it. But I think I'm already getting flustered. But I think a lot of the time it's more about the vibes. You're feeling out the vibes.
Absolutely.
And you're in like, sometimes we are busy people and we got shit to do, you know? But you still want to have that moment with your person.
Of course, yeah.
But I really thought the ideal was going to be like 45 minutes to an hour. Yes. I
think you're thinking of foreplay though.
Yes, but I think it's like, you're right. I think I think you're right, including foreplay, but not including foreplay. I'm still thinking in that 30-minute range that most people would think. That's I was perceiving that was most people's ideal.
Wow.
But it's honestly to only our benefit that it's a little shorter.
Yes. Yeah. Very true.
So tell me
what do you want to know? I'm sorry, honey.
Tell me why you were like, let's get this done in 13 minutes.
No, I
or
just
less.
think honestly, for one, maybe, I don't know. Like for me, it's just like if you have the foreplay and you're doing the act of sex, I think for one, if you go too long, it can hurt after a while.
Yeah.
I think that if even like switching up positions, like at a certain point, a guy's not lasting that long.
Sure.
Like if he's lasting 30 minutes, I would start to get into my own head of like, am I not doing something right?
Interesting.
And then I think it would take me out of the act.
Sure. I get that.
Yeah.
I've been there. Like there's definitely been times where if it's lasting longer, I'm like, everything good down there? Like, are you good? But then also, I feel like I do take it as a compliment too, because I'm like, oh, he's still going. Like, we're going. I don't know.
I don't.
Really?
I'm like, I get into my head way too much, and I'm like, okay, I'm not doing something right. Like, does he not like this? Like, is there something else I need to do? Like,
well, and it also depends how often you're having sex, because if you aren't having sex very often, then it's easier for it to be like more of an explosion of like, oh my God, this is so exciting, you know, and then you both
are. Then it's less than 7 minutes.
It can be. And then I think that's where, if you don't have sex a lot, or it's like your first time or something like that.
But I've been in long-term relationships, and like even with a long-term relationship, like I think that even if you're having consistent sex, like I've never like known somebody that's just like, if you're continuously having sex, that it's 30 minutes and you're not like
100%. We're also talking about heterosexual relationships right now, because
yeah.
I would argue, I've never partook, but I would argue that most lesbian sex, from what I've heard, that's a marathon. They're
really?
Like, yes, from my friends that have told me, they're like, that shit, we're like rolling up our sleeves for an hour. We're doing that for an hour. And I'm like, oh, that's the other half lives very differently.
Tell me more.
I will connect you with someone. No, I'm saying to get the details, but I'm like, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, wow.
And I've heard, so that's way different.
Well, I guess that's interesting too, because I think yeah, I guess if it's probably depending on the time period too. Like I think in different time periods, like if you're talking about a heterosexual relationship, women feel different at different time periods.
Yes.
Like, so like, I think there's probably times that like you want that like continuous, like over and over and over again, and really like taking in that person.
Yeah.
And then there's other times like I want to connect with you, but I also have work to do.
quickly.
Yes.
With fast. Yes. Yeah, like with what's the word?
I wonder if that's like an average of like overall, or if that's like, because it's not like you want any time span or any act to be the same every time. So it probably does differ.
I mean, at least for me, I would say, I hate that I started a podcast. I would say for me, the mornings, I love morning sex.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm like, down and dirty, let's get it up. Like
sure,
you're already excited. I'm excited.
Ahead of us.
We got the day ahead of us. We got 30 minutes till the next meeting. Let's see what we can get in. You know, and is that my proudest moment? No. But like that's
who needs a workout when you have a partner?
Thank you. I think so. So I'm like, and imagine if you're working out on top of that. We love that which
burn double calories.
Yes. So I would say in the morning, I do want it quicker. Yeah. I want it more like, we know it works. Yeah. Let's hit the like hit singles and go from there. And then I would say at night though, I'm like, baby, let's take our time. But that's because I'm a night owl. So I'm like, we have hours. Like that's where I would be like, I'm not trying, unless I'm really tired.
Sure. Yeah.
But if I'm like, if it's peak night, like 10 p.m., I'm like, oh my God.
Peak night, that's bedtime. What?
For me, I'm like, oh my God, the things we could do, the places we could go.
Hours.
Yeah. So that's where, at least for me, that's where that, it differentiates in my head, because I'm like, I feel like the morning time or even midday, it's giving with haste is what I was trying to say earlier. Yeah. And at night, I'm like,
see, for me, it's not like a time of day. I think it's a feeling. Like there's definitely like moments that have been like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like, let's just keep going. Let's soak it up. Like, or like, let's like do more foreplay in between and then go back to it. Yeah. Like there's definitely moments like that. But then I would say the majority of the time, I would think like I love having sex with my partner, but then there's also like, I feel like there's a certain time where I would get to where I'm like, okay, like it's not feeling good for me anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because also our bodies are not meant to, I think, withstand that long.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think like over an hour, if there's not.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Who's like, Actually, I want to hear. We need to interview whoever told you this.
What did you say?
I want to interview whoever told you like that's like the norm in lesbian couples. Like I want to know more. Like
yeah.
Oh, wait,
you know them.
Wait, but
you know them very well.
What were you thinking?
My mind went elsewhere.
Tell the listeners, Maddie.
It was just how you said you went like you were like, who would even? And I just like looked down like, I can't.
An hour. Okay, well, we won't go too deep into that. I want to know what you guys think.
What do you guys think? Well, also, okay. There's so many things. Let me ask you.
Okay.
How long do you think foreplay should last?
As long as you want. Yeah. I mean, there's no
Hand
end to
foreplay. Yeah.
No, there's no end to foreplay because I feel like with foreplay, like also because they're women and men are, if we're again talking about heterosexual relationships, like there's just different erogenous zones for men versus women that I think that the foreplay can really kind of like you want to warm each person up in the way that's best for them.
100%.
That can last as long as
you're willing. Yeah. And dare I say that like foreplay can start early on with conversation.
Absolutely.
Too. Dare I say.
You dare say.
I say.
I co-sign.
Yeah. And that's where sometimes that it does feel like it's like an all-day event.
Yeah.
And
especially if you're super attracted to the person that you're around because like literally like even sometimes a slight movement or the look or like
yeah.
Did you want to expand on that?
No, I do not want to expand. But the thing that we've talked about, I'm so fucking flustered.
This episode's just going to be us giggling the entire time, trying to act very professional about sex. But
we are professional. But I've mentioned on the podcast before, and someone actually messaged me about it and was like, "Thank you for describing what I felt." When I had talked about like hands in the back of a neck, and you were kind of looking at me weird, like what?
Like the back of a neck, I don't.
The back of a neck.
In what way?
It's a man's neck. I don't know what to tell you. It's a lot. It's a lot for me to handle sometimes. And I'm like
to me, that's like saying like, ooh, elbows. Ooh.
Not elbows, but like that vibe. Sometimes I'll look at a person's like arms around me and I'm like, oh my God. Like, yeah, the appendage itself. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm aroused. Like, but maybe I'm built different. I don't know what to say.
No, I love it.
But intimacy there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The back of the neck is intimate?
I think it is, especially when you are like someone who kisses a lot. Like I think the neck is such a like an arousal zone that like you can really the back of a neck, and I think also I'm like I'm really touchy, so I touch the back of a neck a lot. Yeah. If I'm seeing a guy, I feel like that's one of my like hand in hair, and then the back of the neck, and if they're like strong and the back of their neck is strong. So yeah, that's me. I'm out here. But I was gonna say,
Maddie's future husband being like, honey,
he's like, actually, no.
You're mad at me.
Right. No, literally, he's gonna be like, are you that mad? I didn't say it into the mic. I'm sorry. Are you that mad? It's true though. I think those things can be so sexy, and if you are attracted to them, it can be an all day event.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
that's true because I think even like I think I've said on the show before too, like humor to me is so sexy.
Yes.
And so if I'm like laughing with somebody, like that's like a turn on.
So turned on. Yeah. Yeah, it's unreal. And so
I gotta go home, guys.
Yeah, right. You're like, Neil, babes. Yeah. And you guys laugh a lot.
We do, yeah.
But that is a huge thing.
I would say, like I think that talking is a huge part of foreplay because like I think even recently, like Neil's been home a lot more and we've had a lot more time to talking. Before, like we weren't around each other as much, and so it was more of the physical act that like I felt like connected us. Whereas now, like I feel like more of like the time that we're spending together is connecting us so much more, even than just that.
100%.
Yeah,
and it's it almost. I feel like there's a fun stride that you can hit with your partner after you've done the honeymoon phase, where you kind of like rediscover sex with each other, and I think that can be really fun, or at least that's in my past experience with a longer relationship. You're kind of like, oh my God, we're good at this.
Yeah.
You're like,
we're amazing.
We're really good.
We should do this like all the time.
We should do this more often, right? And you're both like, yeah. It's like such a cute bonding experience. how do you feel about, say you're going on a hot date, right? Do you feel like, because some people are very traditional about this. It's like he picks me up or we get together, we live together, whatever. Yeah. So we all get ready, we go on the date, we come back.
Yeah.
And that's when sexy time happens. Like, that's when we have sex, and that's the only time we can have sex is at night, lights off, situation.
Oh, no.
Okay, let's expand.
No. No.
No.
I think for sex to remain fun, especially in a long-term relationship, there should be no rules to it.
Yeah.
I think it should be continuously exploring each other, trying new things together, not having, like, if it was like the middle of the morning or like we just did a work, whatever that is, like whenever the mood hits, you should be able to. And like, that's what makes it fun. That's what 100%. Makes like life not become mundane, like in any parts of it, like sex being a major part of that. But like, I don't think so. Like, at least that's not how I feel. I know like some people might feel like it's a little bit more like not strategic. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, sectioned out in their day of like, okay, now it's the end of the day. Now we can do this. Now we can relax. Yeah. But I don't personally feel that way. How do you feel?
Well, and I think you're right. It's obviously per person. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a huge spontaneity advocate for especially when it comes to sex.
I think one of our first sex episodes, we talked about like dirty talk when you're out together.
I'm unwell, dude. Go ahead. You said.
I think that's super fun.
I think so too. Yeah. Oh yeah. I subscribe. I think it's a great way to use your time.
But I think it's also like feeling wanted by your partner, right? I think that's a part of the foreplay that is in conversation as well. Like if you're constantly like hitting on your partner, like we've been together for
almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years now. And even still, if he walks out of the bedroom naked, I'm like, oh.
I know, right?
Oh.
It's crazy.
Sir.
Yeah. You're like, but I'm just a woman at home. Yeah, literally. Well, I was bringing this up because I'm almost an advocate. It's not a like hard, fast rule, but I do like sometimes when you have time before you get together for your date, I almost like having sex before the date. So then, and I feel like it elongates that because then you can have sex when you come back too.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you got time and you're like, kind of looking at your person and you can do it before you go. And then like the date has like so little pressure and like in the way like you can still build up that sexual tension. But I feel like it's just like looming around, like that afterglow of having sex. And now you're like sitting there.
Well, then you're like
eating bread and you're eating
like
bread and
nobody knows what we just did.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, that was fucking crazy, and you're eating your like pasta and you're like, and I think it's just one of those things that can be so sweet and sexy and it's fun. And then you're like, well, we already did it. So it's not like at the end of the night, if you end up becoming too tired, I would recommend this for people that are like, I have a long work week and blah, blah, blah. Totally. Like if you can pencil this in before you go to dinner or the movie or whatever, I think that would be great because then maybe it will help you get that second wind so you won't. But also if you don't have it, you don't feel like, oh, well, now we have to have sex. And like, if I don't have sex with them, they're going to feel
like unwanted
offended or unwanted. Exactly. So I'm a huge advocate for that. I think that's always fun.
I love that. And that could be 7 minutes at the beginning of the date, and then 30.
Yeah, exactly.
See, it varies. A, B, and
really
C.
Does.
Yeah.
Well, we're subscribing to A, B, and C, and D.
Not D.
But also, it's like if you're changing up locations,
I mean, also that.
That's where I've looked at the clock and been like, how long have we been doing this for? It's like when you're going like.
But I feel like those are sessions. I feel like they're split up. I don't think it is considered one session.
But like it's what? It's like 2 minutes walking from the bedroom to the blank.
True. True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the silence is deafening. But I would say, okay, so like. Actually, I have another question. Do you have anything, and it can be with your relationship with Neil or not, or you don't have to say either. Okay. You have complete ownership over your privacy.
Okay.
But is there anything that's surprised you about sex recently or ever that you were like, whoa? I mean, like you've kind of alluded to this last time we had a sex episode about oral, but like, is there anything that like maybe you were like, oh,
one thing that I've discovered like sometimes the position doesn't feel as good the first time. I try it, and then like another time when it's tried again, like it hits differently.
Oh, it hits differently.
It hits differently, and I'm like, why are we doing that all the time?
Yeah.
But like it is like it's again with the only body I know is a female body, so this is all I can speak from. But like it is just like different time periods, different moods, different emotions, different like warm-ups to it that like makes different things work.
They're all variables. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this before, and we want to do an episode on this, and maybe if I get a partner that is consistent, we can talk about that, and we can do an episode on that.
Maybe that happens.
About talking about when you're on your period and how your menstrual cycle does change literally changes how your anatomy feels.
I really want to do this, and maybe you can explain it a little bit more to the audience, but the plan is that with each phase that a woman goes through, right?
Luteal, follicular, menstrual, and ovulation.
Yeah, and so your body is different. Your hormones are different.
Yeah, like where your cervix is. Like, you know, it's interesting. Which
the cervix moves?
Yeah, well, it's not like it moves in like as far as like going around here. But I'm saying it gets closer and further away from the opening.
Oh, wow.
At like when you're on your
And so then sex changes because like the feel of it. Yeah. And so like there's actual like positions or types of
that's
sex.
What I'm saying. So what you're saying completely makes sense. Yeah. Like you being like one position might be like, whoa, boy, get there. We're done.
I thought you loved me.
And then a couple weeks later, you're like, I could do this all fucking day.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's because your body's changing. And within that 28 to 30 something day cycle.
We are going to test this.
We're going to test this. I think we should.
Shall report back.
We will. But yeah, I think that's one thing that I find so fun about sex is obviously with different partners and even exploring yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like it can be ever changing, and like sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. Where you're like, I used to like that, I want to do that again. But I think sometimes I'm like, damn, I didn't know I was gonna like that, or you know. And I think and that's fun to explore with a partner. And
absolutely.
So you were saying like specifically some positions for you.
Yeah.
Like in different time periods.
I think exploration when you're comfortable with somebody is so interesting too. Like I think that when you're maybe sleeping with somebody that like is not like your partner, or maybe if you're sleeping with somebody that is like new in your partnership or whatever that is, you tend to just do what like feels comfortable in the moment. Whereas when you're with a partner that you trust and like can rely on, the exploration of seeing what you guys both might like together or for each other, like is very interesting. And
oh my
fun.
Gosh, the net is so much wider.
Yeah,
you know, you can really play around with more.
Yeah, and that play is a great word because it's having fun with it. Like sex isn't so serious.
Yes,
and that's why we like to talk about it because like. Because really so many people do feel uncomfortable having discussions about sex or feeling like it's very taboo or you're not supposed to talk about it in public. But we're all like most of America is having sex.
Yeah.
And if you are like, you might have questions or you might want to try something or want to talk about it and you're afraid to, or not having that conversation with your partner, that we want that everybody, it's not a big deal. Like it's in your human nature to want to have sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would even argue like be open to things even when you're like, oh, I didn't like recently I discovered something that I would have written off in the past. I had explored it with multiple partners. Shower sex. I was like, this doesn't hit. Like arguably doesn't hit. Yeah. I was like, it's like a little overrated. I was like, yeah, you can have fun with
like
it.
Drowning.
Like, I'm like, the water, you know, I'm like.
Too many sensations.
Yeah, and I'm just like, is it really, you know, you like, I think before I had sex, I was like, oh, water and sex makes so much sense.
Well,
you know,
you're like, in the movies.
Yeah, so you're like, and you're like, the so wetness, sexy. You know, you're like, that makes so much sense. Yeah. But like, it actually can be counterproductive as far as lubrication goes, you know? So you're like, oh, well.
Maybe not so
we're
much.
kind of fighting against like another element here that we didn't need, you know? However, sometimes you try things with a different partner and you're like, how do I sign up for that for the rest of my life, you know? And it is interesting to me. Like, I just find it extremely interesting that you can have, you can share different sessions with different people.
Absolutely.
And be like, wow, this opened my eyes. So that's what I was saying is I would recommend for even someone who feels like they're set in their ways. Because I genuinely, if you would have been like, Maddie, do you like shower sex?
No. Yeah.
I would have been like, yeah. I'm not opposed to it, but it's not something that I would be like, yeah, I want to do that.
I think that's actually a great point in starting a new relationship too, because like what you might have not enjoyed with the past partner, you can't be so closed off if your new partner does like it because you don't know how with this new like emotion with somebody else, what it might feel like. Yeah.
And frankly, not to be like crass, but like with their body, it might feel completely different with a different partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you said, you discover even with the same partner, sometimes you're like, whoa, this hits sometimes and it doesn't, you know? So like, if you think about it that way, you're like, we should be trying things all the time and you shouldn't be like so closed off to certain. So it's like, I think if you are someone that's like, I would never do an hour session. Maybe you try it, Neil.
Maybe we'll talk about it.
I'm like, I'm trying to help you out, my guy. He's watching this, like writing a thank you note.
He sends me a meeting invite.
Google.
Block this time out.
Yeah, he's like, honey, we have some time that we need to allot. Yeah, and then I think also for the people, because I was genuinely, when I saw this statistic of like what the average person's ideal duration is, I genuinely thought it was longer.
Yeah,
and I think, and she spoke on it with her husband. She was like, it's so funny because a lot of people think it's longer. Yeah. So they try and prolong a sexual session and it's to no one's benefit. Yeah. Like if you both were able to talk about it and make it not taboo and be like, really realistically, how long do you really want?
What do you want? Like ideally,
Yeah. And it's like, obviously if you guys don't match, hopefully you can compromise and find a thing, but maybe yours will. If someone is like, oh, really, if I'm being truthfully honest, like 10 minutes. Yeah. And then if someone was like, me too. Then it's like, oh my God, yay. You know, like, and exactly. Yeah. And you can kind of, you can do that together. And I think I was shocked to hear that because I think there's been plenty of times in the past where I've had sex and I'm thinking he wants it longer. Yeah. You know, like he wants a longer session. He's taking his time. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so we're in for the long haul. So I have to almost ration my energy, you know, my energy and my like gusto, you know, because if I knew it was going to be like a quicker session, then you're like guns ablazing. But if you're like, this is going to be an hour, then you're like, all right, we're here, we're just cool, and then you like add a couple things every couple minutes, you know. So that's where all of that to say, I think definitely having these conversations with your partner, whether it's a like truly romantic partner, just sexual or whatnot. Yeah, I think it can really benefit the sexual session. Yeah,
and both of you, honestly, in the long run, like I think that's the main thing we always talk about with everything, but like especially with sex because it is so intimate and everybody has different wants. Like it's having those conversations and knowing what your partner is open to, exploring together and having fun with it.
Yeah, and asking. Like I think like truthfully, if my latest partner hadn't asked me to like, and again, he wasn't saying it in a very like,
get in the shower.
Let's get in the shower. You know, it's not at all like egregious or like gross or anything like that. Like he asked it so like sexy and like playful. It was just like, you want to come in? And I was like, yeah, like we'll shower and then I'll leave. You know, like I was like, okay, like whatever. And then I was like, I'm not. How long do we pay for water at this building? I don't pay for water at this building, so we got
We're in
time.
a drought. It's fine. But I'm glad you know. I'm kidding. We're not even in a drought.
I'm environmentally friendly. But yeah, it was just one of those things that like if he wouldn't have suggested, I would have never suggested that. Yeah. So it's good to have that openness and that willingness, and it's good to ask for what you want too, and like advocate for that.
Yeah, and I think it's a great sign for a partner to ask for what they want too. So if you have somebody coming to you, like kudos.
Absolutely, and I think it's only going to make the completion that much better because look at you. Because if you can communicate with each other, then you can get each other to that place, I feel like, a lot quicker.
Well, then it comes back to even like the foreplay of talking, right?
Oh,
if you're communicating well together and you're connecting on that level, like that is the rare up, and it also is the completion.
100%. So for people at home that might have been shocked by that statistic too, like, bring some more to us.
Yeah.
This was just one, like, we were like, we could cover so many of these.
Totally.
But it was just a shocking thing that we had discovered that we were like, we kind of want to talk about this, because I feel like if so many people, I saw on her post, so many people were shocked by it and actually got it wrong. Like, she did a poll about it and like so many people got it wrong.
Interesting.
So I'm like, I don't think a lot of people think it's that short. So start having conversations with your partners, have conversations with your friends.
I want to know what everybody else thinks. And are they including, if there's a break in the activity, are you including that in the time period?
Are you stopping the stopwatch and then running to your next location?
Checking your Apple Watch.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I think, explore, have fun. And foreplay also, let's hear what people think, like how long foreplay should last.
Yeah. Or other surprises they've had during sex. Like, what have you learned about yourself and that you didn't expect initially?
We can't wait to hear.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, and we'll see you next week on FemTell.
Thank you so much.
Bye.